Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Jake's Scary Unusual. In today's Creative Minds episode, we're going to be going over a killer clown amusement park. I hope you all enjoy this one, and if you did, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. It helps greatly, also with the algorithm. And don't forget to check me out on Spotify. I have all my videos in audio form over there. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you at the end. Bye for now. Benjamin and Claire are siblings, and they're watching killer clowns from outer space on their couch one night. It was a beautiful summer night outside, and they just decided, let's watch a horror movie. So after they get done watching the movie, they're going upstairs, going their separate ways into the bedrooms. They go to bed, and next thing you know it, they actually wake up in this weirdly colored bed. And it's actually really strange because they're looking over and like, wait, you're here too? They're like, what is this? And the craziest thing is, they realized they were sharing a nightmare or a dream. They weren't really sure yet, but they had that clue just based on the situation they were in. So looking at the bed sheets, they were like all different colors and everything. It was really creepy actually because the bed sheets had this very distinct look, like there was clowns' faces on it and like distorted figures. But these clowns' faces were not normal faces. They were like wicked. They had wicked smiles and there was blood and stuff like that. And they were like, what is going on here? This is not great. This is not the situation I want to be in at all. So they both get out of bed and they look at each other and say, okay, we got to figure a way out of here. Considering we're in the same dream too, like, could this actually be real? So they come up with an idea to actually look around. And they look up and they can see the sun actually shining through the tent. So, they're still looking around and stuff like that, and they're looking on the pole that actually holds the big tent up, and there's more faces, more clown faces carved into this pole. And they're like, okay, what is going on? Why does everything have clowns on it? And they hear laughing, a very wicked laugh, coming from outside the tent. And, so they get near the canvas door, that heavy material, and they take a peek outside, and to their horror, they see hundreds of different clowns. And these clowns were not ordinary clowns, mind you. These things were wicked, with a wicked smile and wicked grins. Some of them had different color eyes, like some even had black eyes. Like, there's something truly wrong with this picture here. And it did not have a comforting feeling for these two teenage siblings. This is something they really didn't want to have to go through in any means at all. So they come back inside, they're like, okay, what we have to do something here. And they said to each other, we can't keep waiting in here, waiting for these clowns to discover us, if that's actually what they were. Because they had no idea at this point if these things were just like some demonic entities or something. Waiting in such a tent like that, with all those things around, it's like, what do you do? What do you do in that situation? So they devise a plan. They grab the sheets and they actually wrap them around each other, with the clown's faces on them. Hopefully that would deter them. And they actually find some masks they put on that actually look similar to those disturbing clowns. So they go outside the big tent finally. They make that brave effort to do that. And these siblings, they go outside, they actually separate and they go around. And then these things, you can smell the odor from these things. Their clothes were all raggedy and dirty. And there was actually blood stains on them. And they had weapons in their hands. They had like machetes and swords and maces and stuff like that. Really wild things. Like, what are they doing with these things, right? So they continually walk around these creatures and they're sniffing, like they're wondering, why are they walking so weird? Why are they not with us in lengths and stuff like that? The way they're supposed to be, in their own orders. They kind of stand there like zombies, but the two teenagers, they're actually walking out of line very abnormally. As they're going through these crowds of clowns, they're making their way through and then they're looking back at them. It's like they know they're not a part of their posse, their clown posse. And this is where things get really interesting. So, they start actually leaping towards the kids and they're like, geez, we have to get out of here like in an instant. So they're actually running up. There's this really big stairwell. It's all concrete. And, as they're getting up to it, these clowns are actually starting to like grab onto them really tightly and like they're pulling through. But luckily, the teenage boy pulls a knife out. He actually had a knife on him and he doesn't even know how it got there at this point. So he just goes stabs these things, getting them off his back, and he goes over to his sister and does the same thing and gets out of there, grabs her. He's like, "Come on, let's go, let's go." And he gets the knife and actually does justice there. So they're running and they get up to the stairs. You know, and it's like this huge, massive stairwell. I mean, it's insane. It's extremely large and it's actually very wide. It's like a marble-ish stairwell. And it doesn't really make much sense considering the area they're actually in. A big circus with a big top behind them. Like, what is this actually doing here? So they start running up it and it feels very like soft, like something's weird about it. I said it was marble, but it's actually marshmallow. So they're running up it, but luckily in this area, in this state they're in, it's actually not that hot. It's actually relatively cool. So they're running up it, and luckily they're not sinking through this, but the clowns start running up it. But they start sinking through because they're a lot heavier, they're a lot more dead weight because they're like zombies. They're like, "Ugh," these things are like possessed or something. So they're running up, and then out of the left and right side, there are these walkways, into these dark tunnels. And these two clowns come out with chainsaws. And they're starting to rev them, and they're running after these two teenage kids. So, Benjamin and Claire at this point are like, okay, we really need to focus on the mission here. Why are we running up here? But in some weird sense, they both knew and felt deep down this is actually where they were supposed to go. So they keep running. They get to this platform. That was actually the part where they came out of the tunnel, these two clowns with the chainsaws. Not to mention there's rust and blood all over them. It's like these things have been using these chainsaws for days, just cutting through old corpses and bodies. So the two teenage kids, siblings, run up the rest of the stairs. When they get to the top, it looks like this big old colorful like Colosseum, like an old Roman Colosseum. It's really strange and not really fitting in this type of environment. But they go inside and they're looking to the left and right, and there's these statues, like 10-foot statues. They're stone statues. Now these ones are more bland and bleak, just very dark gray. It's not like the Colosseum itself where there's bright colors everywhere. It didn't really make much sense. So they go inside and these statues start moving. They start cracking. And then they realize that these things are actually clowns inside these statues. They all just bust at once. There's 5 on each side, and two teenagers are like, "What do we do?" And then they start running after them. And these things are huge. They have axes, they have bats, all these different types of unique weapons. They're running after them. And remember that now the stairwells were marshmallow, but inside the Colosseum was like a hard, sugary substance. It's kind of like when you burn a marshmallow and let it sit and it just gets all hard. It's the same thing like this. It's like cube sugar. So this whole Colosseum is made of sugar. And, as they're running, it does feel a little more solid, but sometimes it cracks off. You have to be careful in this area, because the stairs and everything just kind of crumbling. It's basically sugar. So they continue to run in. They run in all the way as they're getting chased by these 10-foot clowns. And then the other clowns that are coming up the stairs still. I mean, there's hundreds of these things running after these teenage kids. So Claire and Benjamin now are actually in the middle of this Colosseum. Like, what are we going to do? And it gets even worse because this clown jumps out from the top of the Colosseum and slams down. He cracks the whole thing in half. The whole Colosseum just cracks in half. And it separates from about 5 feet from the other side. And they look down because they were in the middle and it cracked it right where they were. So they were not only separated now, the siblings are separated. This clown's on the side where Benjamin is. So he's looking back. He's like, great, what am I going to do now? I have to deal with this clown behind me. And Claire's like, great, I have these 10-foot monsters coming at me. I have to deal with them. So they're both like, okay, we need to devise a plan. And somehow they're able to communicate with their minds to each other, okay? And they both say, let's both run to the left because we can see there's a door there. So they actually, immediately as they said that, they both started running. And as they were running, the crack would get smaller. And actually, down in this crack, way down below, was some like magma lava. We don't actually know what it was, but it was quite warm actually coming up. It was like it was over a big cauldron or something. It just keeps getting more and more wild as the story goes on. So as they're running, the Colosseum starts collapsing. It's like it's going inward like this, as if it's melting. So they're both running towards that exit, actually, because the wall cracked and all this sugar in the Colosseum collapsed in. So there was this little exit they were able to flee out of. So as they both go, Benjamin's like, here, grab my hand. She jumps, Claire jumps, grabs his hand, makes it over to the other side safely, and they run out that hole. And this freaking creature with this massive axe that's like 20 feet tall, the one that came out of the ceiling, just goes like this and hammers down and causes a quarter of the Colosseum to collapse right as they exit, and it collapses on top of the beast. And then not only that, once they get out there, they land on Marshmallow again. But it's like weird because it's like a separate platform, and they realize what they jumped onto was like this marshmallow cloud, and they look around, it's one massive marshmallow. And it's really weird because not only do they look back, but they look down off the side of the marshmallow, and it's a massive witch cauldron that this Colosseum and circus platform was actually on top of, and it's melting and getting cooked down into this cauldron. And all around it is this woods with bright blue sky now, because the reason it was so weird before with the atmosphere, there's all this smoke from this cauldron. It's so crazy. It's just like, whoa, what just happened here? It's a wild and interesting tale here. Hey everyone, I hope you all enjoyed part one. Stay tuned for part two this Friday of Claire and Benjamin's adventure. And I'm going to have more stories be coming out soon. Next week is going to be a big week, Halloween week. We're going to have a bunch of videos and possibly some live streams. Again, hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know what you think of part one. All right, bye now.